Weekend, Sunday, I'm going for shooting. Saturday की location.
Oh, you're going for shooting ऐसे तो
ऐसा for Sunday. Saturday.
चाहिए तो शाम में अगर फ्री हो तो बैठ के अपन लोग थोड़ा प्लान करते हैं कि
Yeah.
महीने में क्या अकम्प्लिश करना है सारा
After this, because we do
इसीलिए
marketing and all.
इसीलिए बोल
Yeah.
संडे देखते हैं मैसेज मी इफ यू आर नॉट टायर्ड
Sunday.
इवनिंग
Sunday evening, I don't know at what time. 2 to
इसीलिए
4
बोल रही हूँ
I
इफ यू आर नॉट टायर्ड और इट्स विल डू मंडे इवनिंग
Monday evening.
हाँ लेट मी नो इफ यू आर ओके
किसी का लेनोवो लैपटॉप का चार्जर है क्या? किसी के पास चार्जर?
आई डोंट हैव
Lenovo?
हाँ,
पता नहीं, देखो मेरा
चार्जर टूट गया है।
Lenovo नहीं होगा शायद. I think. This works?
हाँ, ये वर्क करेगा शायद। देखती हूँ स्टीव के से हो नहीं रहा है मेरे से।
आपकी पैंट बहुत कंफर्टेबल लग रही है
मेरी?
मैं तो फुल में किया अभी.
वेरी नाइस इट्स वेरी कंफर्टेबल
अरे यार ये
क्या हुआ?
ऑथेंटिकेशन।
Authentication आया. That.
अरे मैंने ऑर्डर किया अगर आपने मेटल
Oh, मैंने
मैग्नेट यूएसए बोला था वो मैंने देखा लेकिन मैंने अमेज़न से भी ऑर्डर किया था अच्छा है
ओ क्या?
बट इट इज़ नॉट
Pen,
कस्टमाइज्ड इट इज़ नॉट कस्टमाइज्ड तो उस पर मेरे को कार्ड सम स्मॉल डायरी
टाइम.
तो उस पर मेरे को कार्ड बनाना पड़ेगा स्टिक
कार्ड स्टिकर.
स्टिक
स्टिक हाँ स्टिकर और स्टिक भी कर सकते हैं.
स्टिक से
नहीं नहीं वो ग्लू से
हाँ
स्टिक
ब्लू
करना.
स्टिक ओके
स्टेपल हो गई.
या
फोक
ओके
ओपन हाउस में दे सकते हैं ना.
आपको मेरा पेट गुड़ 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 सुनाई देगा।
अभी
मेरा पेट बहुत ज़्यादा नो मेरा पेट बहुत ज़्यादा गुड़ गुड़ भी करता है। ज़्यादा पानी पी रही हूँ।
फ्राइडे आपका जब बर्थडे किया था मैं खा नहीं पाई थी मैं फास्ट ऑन फ्राइडे
I need to do one day per week actually. मेरा वेट ना बहुत जल्दी आता है.
या मेटाबॉलिज्म
हाँ बहुत कम हो गया है.
I'll get some water. You want some water?
Get some tea or something for you ना.
Tea or coffee maybe.
No, that lemon tea मिलता है ना.
लेमन टी होगा ना यहाँ पे?
है lemon tea है. It's healthy also. You should get it.
का लैपटॉप नहीं गिरा बाप में।
किसका है वो?
Switch to your laptop.
Yeah, my charger broke.
Your what broke?
Charger broke, so I borrowed from her. Oh, my bad. Yeah, it's working. I don't know. It was not working.
Where is everybody?
As usual, they'll be late.
Make the tips.
Jeepu.
Jeepu. She's not coming today.
That cracked me up, man. What are the languages do you talk? Do you specialize in? Yeah. Tamil? Okay. Do you have any Tamil speaking clients? No?
One.
One?
Not really, but
I was just curious if it is helpful to speak different languages.
Definitely possible.
Yeah, because I want to learn Spanish.
Okay.
Ah, she's there na. Wanda will teach you.
Who?
Yesterday she was there.
What's her name?
Wanda.
A&D? Wanda?
Wanda, I think so.
Acha, 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 acha.
No, Wanda, it is Wanda, not Anna.
Okay.
Though I Wanda, but
Who's doing the class? Who's doing the class?
Stephen. Yes. used to it. Positive energy.
Hey Rachel, how you doing? Happy New Year. Hey Steve.
I'm really shocked that you did a bit 3 bit.
No, today I got it at 4. I said 3:34.
Hello.
I gotta grab a handout, or you can hand those out, or what do you? No. Thank you, sir.
You guys
Yeah,
get
yeah.
That's a fine, I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lot of information.
Okay, then I don't have to take pictures.
My lady will strange pictures.
Yeah,
I delete them up
I know.
Oh, we got handouts.
Hello.
Thanks, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm writing this one.
Need to be closer.
Anytime you can get it. Go with this happen.
One time it takes so many. अभी एक कपड़े पे वो बैग में बचा।
आपने दिया पॉइंट दो कौन सा पॉइंट लिया
So it took long time. अभी ऊपर नहीं जाना। ऊपर है ना?
टुडे Dogecoin is at 7.6%.
It took so many.
आपने Bitcoin ले लिया
Maybe वो actually they give a little with the account so that.
आपने स्क्रीन प्रोटेक्ट कर लिया
Oh yeah.
yeah
Maybe they
Morning, Steve.
maybe exactly. That's expectation.
I think at least to begin with, he's got to be able to.
Yeah.
Join the London too. Are you not?
No, I'm still thinking, because if I do that, then it's gonna kind of hurt
I
me.
get that all the
Which is
time.
the
I
last
don't know, I just feel
family.
like my ego, I feel
Oh,
like
God, another
it's
one, that guy.
scattered, right?
Oh, he wants to talk to
That's
us.
what I have to do, and like, I was
So you
doing
get like
that,
so many.
and I
What's
don't
going on, man? Happy New Year's.
you know, so, hey,
Hello.
I need that
So many
span,
things.
I mean, I am a hustler and I
I
try to do
usually
everything,
get
but
like 3 or 4 and then the text, you probably just text.
especially,
Yeah, and this is the latest text, and I've got this
Is it working?
I don't know.
Please pay your fast track.
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, with phone number comes.
Yeah?
That's an
Check it
offshore
in a second,
something.
let's watch it.
Yeah, and if you look at the link, it's not fast track. I know,
Of course not.
one time, I got that once, I was like, it made you pause, like I paused, I was like, oh, I'm my fast track. It's my credit card number.
Yeah,
But I was about to
where's
put it-
exactly.
And I was like, oh, wait, I think it's fast track. But you know, people probably just go, oh, click on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff that they can try to for you.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a while back, we're Xfinity customers.
Yeah.
And so I got internet phone, TV also. And so I get this, I think it was, we wanted, give you a 50% off our Comcast bill.
Also, Jimmy coming along, critical.
And if
Yeah, I
you
went
get
to see
YFC
them
with it,
Yeah.
walking
they did,
today.
we talked about it a little bit. Well, we're gonna do
Mhm.
this for a year, special deal. And I know what that is, so I wanted
I know,
Comcast for a long time, they've got all these deals for
Yeah.
new customers.
Motivation.
Born of the arcade, I like this group dances.
And, the idea was, you got
I
to do
don't
the
do
first
alone.
If I work
first
out,
6 months,
this is
No.
alone.
we're gonna give it to half price.
Must the
You
Purane
need
Bollywood
to
ke songs.
pay the first 6
Mm.
months or whatever,
So
you
I
get
used
to
to
half
do
price.
that.
Yeah.
And then you're free.
That's my like, oh
Okay.
my God, I need to, I enjoy it that
Yeah.
much.
Okay, so here's what you need to do. You need to go down to the store
your
and
favorite
buy these gift
Sure.
cards.
You should have Rafi.
And you're like, ding, 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 ding.
Sure gonna do that.
Asha Lata.
Asha Lata bono acha.
Yeah, that one, I mean, should always be red flags. But you know, even my in-laws, my father-in-law, he's very savvy, he doesn't fall for this. He got scammed. It was something like that, it was not Comcast, I forget what they called it. They, gave some deal on something, but they wanted his credit card number, charged him his credit card. And all of a sudden, he started getting all these, it was like, check his credit card. He was, after he was done, he was like,
सब mix कर रहे हैं.
doing great. And then he checked his credit card, it was like, bing, 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 all these charges. So he called right away, they canceled it all.
Yeah.
So they had to reissue him a new card, but like, he was like, I can't believe that. He's like, I can't believe that. He's so on top of things, you know?
Some of them are pretty convincing.
Yeah, especially if it just sounds good, and you can tell you other things going on.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's do it.
Yeah. I was a kid when
उनका शरीर है यार आपका.
this is several years back.
मेरे से बड़ा है.
सुबह सोशल मीडिया पर मैंने
I lost my connection.
आपका ज़्यादा बड़ा लग रहा है.
हाँ discover.
What did you get?
Nothing, just enter.
Yeah.
And if you get promoted, then this is the code.
They would just show up at the map. Yeah.
25 साल से. 0.75.
Sure.
Reading class.
Yeah, that and the IRS, right? Yeah, they're not gonna call it that.
आएगा.
Here's-
Reading
Are you
class.
ready or
I mean,
not
you
ready?
can start.
I will try to get the
But there's always clever.
But people
people
like, yeah, it is.
Scam.
If you don't know, you know,
I'm
you get
short sighted.
scared, you know. I know.
Your antivirus is expiring. Rashida.
I get that.
Oh,
I don't
no,
even
does
have
it work
that
well?
virus. How can it expire?
Your Mac computer is expiring soon.
All
All right. What time is it?
Every year, Bill's just some crazy.
I'm gonna wait a few minutes and start on Realtor time. Actually, we have a running joke with Preet and Bamal. They always show up about 11 minutes after the class is supposed to start. So we're actually starting earlier than they normally show up. So how is everyone doing? Everyone
Not well enough, or I wouldn't be here.
not well enough? Already for the new year?
Yes.
I think this is gonna be an interesting year, let's put it that way. With the unfortunate happenings in Southern California, it is definitely going to impact the real estate market in multiple ways. You know, obviously more so down there, but, you know, it is gonna have an impact, obviously, with
You think
respect to,
insurance
with
is hard
respect
to
to
get?
insurance.
Do you think insurance is hard to get in California now?
Yeah.
Wait.
Insurance is going to be a major, it's gonna be a major issue, this year. It already had become an issue, but it's gonna become more of an issue, and that will be one of the hot topics. And we'll obviously learn and hear a lot more about that as time goes on. I think I know most of you in the room. I think I have a pretty good idea of experience level and years in the business. I got the idea for this class from sitting in Joe's class. He did a shift tactic class on finding the motivated, and one of the handouts, one of the slides in that class is the prospecting marketing, chart this comes from the MREA book. It's been tweaked a little bit, but this is one page in the book that I've always looked at and relied on.
So which book again?
I'm sorry?
Which book did you say?
The MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, yeah. Just so you understand some background, the MREA book was written about 20 years ago, and Gary and Jay had been working on a second edition for several years. And just about the time when they were going to come out with that, the market shifted and they thought, oh, we've got to put this aside. And then COVID came, and so a lot of things have gotten in the way of them coming out and publishing the second edition. But you'll hear us talk about a lot of things that are a little different than they are in the Red Book, okay? The Red Book talks about 12 touches and 33 touches. Now we talk about 19 touches and 36 touches. And that's all part of the second edition, but it's not officially out, but a lot of that has been incorporated. Another thing that you'll find is in the Red Book, we talk about METs and haven't METs. Now we talk about leads and contacts, but basically we're still talking about the same thing. When we say a MET in your database is a contact, a lead in your database is someone you haven't met. Okay, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Just so you have a little understanding of the how things work. I think most of you know me and know my background, but I'll share with you a resume that I wrote that maybe I haven't really shared with all of you. I'm a third generation native of what's now Fremont. At the age of 13, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. So I kind of had my career path all figured out early on. At age 14, I went to work at the Niles hardware store in Niles. And what's interesting is when I look back at my career, every job that I have had has touched either the design, construction, or repair of a home or a building. And that wasn't by design. But I started out in a hardware store. 4 years at that. Graduated high school, worked for a commercial plumbing company. Started college, about a year into college, I started working at a water heater manufacturing plant in Newark. And then at that plant, I went from being out in the assembly line, worked my way up, quality control, receiving inspector, brought in as a production control clerk. 30 days later, my boss leaves. They say, you're now the manager. At 23 years old, I'm production control and purchasing manager for a water heater manufacturing plant. I had a gentleman that I worked with. He was on the engineering side. He shared with me something when he first got to know me, because he knew I was going to go to law school. And he said, Steve, start saving the business cards and names and addresses of everyone that you come into contact with. And I was 23 years old. Now, his vision was that I was going to go to law school, come back to Fremont, and open up a law office. And that was kind of what my thought was. But I never forgot what he shared with me. And so I'll finish my career. While I'm at the water heater plant, I go to college. Let me digress back. While a senior in high school, my next door neighbor, who's a real estate broker, says, I want you to come work for me and sell real estate when you graduate high school. But I was already at 5 years, I'm going to be a lawyer. But I got advanced standing at Ohlone College and took real estate principles when I was a senior in high school. But then that summer, I went to work for the commercial plumbing company. Next fall, started college. Never thought about it at that point. I guess probably I was just too young. Yeah, so who's been 18 years old, just come out. But that was just a different career path. Now after 7 years with this water heater plant, I go to law school. I start working for the largest privately owned building products and supply company in the Western United States. I start out selling roofing supplies, roofing materials. And then I'm in the administration side of it. In this company, we manufactured and sold everything from roofing to insulation to drywall to lumber to clay pipe to bricks, you name it. So I was exposed to all this stuff as I was going through law school. And then I get a job as an attorney in Oakland. I'm working for an insurance defense firm. I do asbestos litigation. Did that for 2 years. I've forgotten more about asbestos than most people know, okay? But the main thing that I do for the next 5 years is construction defect litigation. And I defended 2 roofing material manufacturers. Anyone heard of Owens Corning? Owens Corning Fiberglass? I represented them. And Certainty Corporation. Interesting about Certainty Corporation is they have a manufacturing plant in Newark, not far from where I used to work, in another plant in Newark. Now the reason I share that with you is because my life story is part of my value proposition. What's your value proposition? So you need to be, this class isn't about that, but it is interrelated to what we're talking about. Because when it comes to your communication with clients, with leads, with contacts, with clients, it's all about communicating your value proposition. And so you need to be thinking about, I always tell people, when you get up in the morning, ask yourself, why should someone work with me? Do you have an answer to that question? That should be uppermost in your mind. Because this is a very competitive market, very competitive industry. Every time I run the numbers for the office and look at the top-down report, the last time I did it, you all heard of the 80-20 rule. 20% of your activities lead to 80% of your results. Well, guess what? In this office, the last time I did the top-down report, I found that 20% of our agents did 80% of the business. And I'm sure if I got the 2024, it would probably show that percentage, maybe even higher, 85-15, or possibly even 90-10, based on the number of agents that we have. So why am I sharing that with you? I want you to have a perspective of how much business is available to you. Does that make sense? It's not infinite. And we're going to go through some more numbers. It's not infinite. It's a finite amount of business that we do. Does that all make sense? Now, before we start, is anybody, are there any particular questions or topics you have about what you want to get out of today's class? Yeah.
For people who don't know, I'm Venkatesh. My question is pretty much basic. Like, I started off like 3 months ago, and I come from a tech background. and I started this career just 3 months ago. This first company, I really love it so far. But coming from a tech background, I have some contacts with me. But a couple of things basically. One is the inertia to get started with prospecting. Just to start off, basically, is it really going to pay off? And basically, knocking on doors is not my cup of tea. Basically, going and prospecting, hey, can you buy this? So that is the first question. The second thing is that I think I would feel really bad if somebody comes into my house and says I think a buyer is okay, but for a seller, I go into a place, are you interested in selling your house? I don't really know how to put that question up pretty much. It's very difficult to ask anybody right now, are you interested in moving to a different place or downsizing or upsizing, whatever, right? It's going to be a very difficult question or conversation to have, right? And
no, it's not a difficult question. It's a very simple question.
That's my question.
And we're gonna go through. One portion of this, we're gonna talk about connecting and questions when you're talking to people. Okay, I think you've got some valid concerns. We're gonna address that. Everything that we're talking about is gonna address what you're talking about. Understand here, just based on this chart here, this lays prospecting and marketing out into three areas. It talks about just prospecting activities which are simply prospecting. Talks about activities that are marketing, but then it talks about in the middle, it talks about things that you can both prospect and market. Okay, and personally, I weigh more in the middle and the right than I do on the left. Okay? And that's just because of everything I talked about before. My connection, the time I've been here, and my connection to the area, and the people that I know. Okay. I have people that I've been in the business now for 35 years. I have people that are receiving mail from me and have for 35 years. Who do you think they think of when they have a real estate need or a real estate question? It's called TOMA. It's called top of mind awareness. Now, the one thing that you need to understand is that on the prospecting side, most of that is dealing with people you don't know. You are trying to generate leads from people you don't know. So that's a little bit of a challenge. And that can be scary for some people. But we all know people. The reality is you know more people and have more potential people that you could put in your database than you even realize. And part of what we're going to go through is a way to increase the amount of people in your database so that you have more leads and you have people to talk to, people who know you. Okay? And there's some questions, there's a couple questions here that go right to what you're talking about. What do I say to someone as an initial conversation? Okay? The one thing that you have to, I have this phrase and it's not, grammatically correct, but in our business you need to be an information getter, not an information giver. You give information, but your goal is to get information from the lead, from the contact. If all you do is just give, and you don't get anything back, you haven't gained or benefited from that. You give just enough to create the interest, to create the inquiry, and now your job is to get the information, initially the contact information, find out what the level of interest is, find out what the motivation, and then create a solution, fill the need for the need that they have. See, that's not, yeah, we are real estate salespersons and real estate brokers. We are in the sales business, but we're problem solvers. And that's how you have to look at it. Does that make sense? Now, the one thing that I talked about the 80-20 rule and how much business there is. You need to understand the pie is only so large. At any given time, there's only a small percentage of people who are going to buy and sell. And our job is to find those people. And at the end of the day, it's all about who gets to the person first. Okay? How many of you have been in the business less than a year? Raise your hand. Keep your hand up. Now, if you send out a new agent announcement to everybody you know, keep your hand up. Good. So you did. Because a lot of agents don't even think to do that. Don't even think to send out an announcement to everyone to let them know that they're in the business. Now, to start out, real estate is a numbers game. So we're going to talk about some numbers initially here. Now, when we go to family reunion, how many people have gone to family reunion? Not enough. Next month's family reunion will be my 23rd family reunion. My first family reunion was in 2002. I haven't missed one yet. I've been either in person or virtual. Now, one of the things that Gary gives at family reunion is called his vision speech. And in the vision speech, he pulls a lot of information from NAR surveys of buyers and sellers. And one of the things that he surveys is this statistic here. How did sellers find their agents? Take a look at the numbers. And the numbers have not changed dramatically. Referred by or is a friend, the seller was referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative, 39%. Used agent previously to buy or sell a home, 26%. So what's that total? 65%. Okay, you can go, all these slides, the first set of slides that you're seeing here, does everyone know how to go to Connect? And then pull up everything we got is in there. And you can find the Family Reunion 2024 Vision Speech. And these slides are in there. Okay? That's where there are about 8 slides, that's where you're going to find those. This is directly from his vision speech. But the whole slide presentation for his vision speech is in Connect. Look down, website, 5%. Personal contact by agent, 4%. Referred by another agent or broker, 4%. Open house and med agent, 3%. Direct mail, 2%. Now that's a little misleading, because the direct mail creates the agent relationship. Okay? Saw contact off a sign, referred employer, walked into office. Do you even see social media up there?
Other.
Is social media there?
Other.
Other. Okay, that's right. I'm seeing if you're reading it.
Yeah.
My point is, how do most people find their agent? Not through all this stuff. Okay?
So what is
They're
this
referred.
others?
They're referred. social media is in other. There's a lot of other stuff that's in other. Yeah, social media is in other. Now, who was in the office meeting the other day? So I heard Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay, Wilson's team did probably 120 plus units. They did like 240 million. At an average of 2 million, that's 120 units. He's at 100 plus units. I was fortunate to be in an elite mastermind that the region hosted last month. Wilson was one of the speakers. And he spent about a half hour, and he talked a lot about what he talked about the other day. Everything's doing on social media, the 4 million viewers and all that. And I don't know if you caught his comment. He goes, we're still trying to kind of figure out what it's doing. He confided in us, out of those 120 plus units, you know how many he could trace to social media? Take a guess.
2.
2?
20.
What's that?
20.
20? You said between 5 to 8. My point is, we share a lot of different things to do, but at the end of the day, what rules the world? It's the relationship. It's the relationship. It isn't all these other things that we tell you to do that people say they're doing. That's not where it's coming from. Okay? Another statistic that it's interesting, over time, it's grown. How many agents does a seller interview?
3.
1. 81%. Look at the numbers.
Wow.
81%. What did I say earlier? He who gets to the table first gets the deal. Now, we spend a lot of time teaching you how to, scripts and how to deal with, when there's more than one agent. Well, what's the likelihood? The likelihood is that on 1 out of 5 listings, you're going to have competition. Now, so you've got to be prepared to go up against other agents. Don't get me wrong. But if you do this, if you do the lead generation right, and you create the relationships, you're not going to have to deal with it. I'm almost embarrassed to say this. I rarely have to go over anything in my presentation except the market analysis. I have it all. I'm ready for everything, but the only thing I have to worry about is the market analysis, because they just want to know, what's my house worth? What's it going to sell for? I don't get asked about, what are you going to do? None of that. It's because I've created the relationship already. Does that make sense? And you've heard me say this before. You need to focus, especially when you're new, lead generating people you know. Don't go after strangers until you've dialed in everybody you know first. Does that make sense? But a lot of you aren't doing that. You're doing you're going after all these strangers. Now, don't get me wrong. Open houses, those are strangers coming in, but they are at a higher level than just someone in a house. They have some level of interest in buying or selling. So they're a warmer lead. That's why it's worth it to do open houses, because one barrier has been dropped. The motivation level is higher at an open house. But when you look back at the numbers, based on what the survey showed, there was only 3% found their agent at an open house. Now, just so we're on the same page, this is talking about sellers. Okay? It's not talking about buyers. What sellers want from their agent? Again, sellers help price the home competitively, 22%. Price is usually always number one. And that's despite Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and all those sites. Most people now know that they can't rely on all these sites. Most people know, yeah, when it came out, it was new and that was all the thing. But most people realize and know, hey, they can't rely on that. Help seller market the home to potential buyers. Marketing, 21%. Help them sell with a specific time frame, 20%. Help find a buyer, 14%. Help find ways to fix up the home, 11%. It's interesting. Helping with negotiations is down here at 6%. But that's a big deal, especially in our market, is the negotiation piece of it. But a lot of people don't necessarily see value in that. And that could be the way we handle it. Help with paperwork, 3%. That's a big deal too, but to them, it's not necessarily, it is a big deal. But you look at what they want. They help with pricing, marketing, selling within a specific time frame, and bringing the buyer. And what are the most important factors for sellers? Reputation, 33%. Honesty and trustworthy, 21%.
So can you go back to the last slide for 1 second? Thank you.
So basically, when you say reputation is 30%, new agents do not have a lot of chance with the sellers.
You don't have a reputation.
You work with the buyers, build your reputation.
Well, okay. There's a reason I went through my life story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I got in the business 35 years ago. I was an attorney. So everybody that knew me knew I was an attorney. So I suppose that probably elevated my expertise to a certain extent, but I had bought and sold houses, but I had never represented anybody. I actually did some broker malpractice cases as an attorney, defending brokers in disclosure cases.
You had the subject
But
matter expertise.
I had a reputation, just wasn't in real estate. See, we all have a background. John used to be my banker at Wells Fargo. I knew his reputation. If John would have got into real estate and I wasn't in real estate, he could have been my realtor. Because I knew him, we had a relationship, and I knew his reputation. Reputation, honesty, trustworthy, you have that in your bio has that. You just have to communicate it. For a long time, I initially, when I started, my bio had everything, and then as I got more experienced, I wanted to keep it into one page, so I got rid of all the pre-real estate background and just stuck with the companies and everything that I did in real estate. In retrospect, maybe that wasn't the best thing. What I shared with you about my life story didn't even really hit me until I got interviewed by a real estate agent magazine wanting to do a write-up and a bio on me. And as I'm being interviewed and I'm going through all this, I'm going, wow, I didn't realize this. Everything I've done has touched real estate. And I've now made that part of my value proposition. Friend or family member, 14%. Knowledge of the neighborhood, 11%. Good listener, 5%. Commission, 5%. Commission pretty low. Association with company, low. Seems 100% accessible. No big deal. Professional designations, other. Again, when you're creating your value proposition, when you're when you're creating your bio, think about what's important to people.
One quick thing. So I work as a program manager in tech industry, and what I communicate to my clients, customers, and leads is that I treat each and every transaction, buying, selling, as a project, and basically replicate what I have been doing as a project manager, where I'm guarding each of the steps
Sure.
of the buying journey or selling journey,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
leverage that reputation.
Yeah, basically, you want to take the skills that you learned at your previous occupation. How can you correlate
Leverage
those
those.
to what you do in real estate? I mean, as an attorney, obviously, I've done mediations, I've done arbitrations, I've negotiated settlements, I've done most of what we do in real estate. I just did it in a different field. It's like, I know what mediation's all about because I did it. I know what goes on in arbitration because I did them. So that's all experience I have that puts me at a different level. But you all have some experience in other fields that translates over, and that's what you have. That's what you have to help try to deliver. Does that make sense? Now, just one thing. And don't take me wrong on this, but knowing technology is great, but technology does not sell real estate. Okay? Most of you in the room probably know a whole heck of a lot more about technology than I do, but you're not selling as much real estate as I'm selling. Okay? Technology supports your business. And having knowledge is important. But that's not what sells real estate. It's all about relationships and your reputation. Does that make sense? So you need to understand, just because you know technology, that is a platform for relationships. That's not the basis for being good at real estate. Okay? If that makes sense. You've got to be able to communicate verbally with people. Now, I know a lot of engineers are into the numbers. They love the numbers and they want to see the numbers. But you need to be able to analyze and explain those numbers to them, because in most cases, they don't know how to interpret them. They don't know what they mean. They don't know how to get from point A to point B. They don't know the connection.
Yeah.
Okay? Have you ever experienced that?
Very true.
I mean, you would be amazed at some of the stuff I hear from agents that comes out of their clients' mouths that are very well educated in engineers, and it's like, I said, they have no financial sense whatsoever. They don't understand the numbers. Now, this is an interesting chart that came out from CAR called the 2024, and you have it in your handout, 2024 Seller Snapshot. And it talks about, kind of repeats what the NAR said. Now here it's a little different. Top 5 services sellers value the most: 32% negotiating the price, 15% project managing the transaction. Probably because of our engineering presence in California. Okay, 9% setting the right price, 12% preparing a home for sale, 9% negotiating legal regulatory complexities. Here's the part that I want you to look at. Is the ethnicity of sellers and the demographic, not the demographic, but the age breakdown of sellers. Take a look at that, folks. Who are the majority of sellers? White guys like me. In my age group.
In Fremont, that's not the case, though, is it?
Baby boomers.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay?
Get to know the white guys, then, huh?
But that's, you know, that's the state, that's state statistics, okay?
Yeah.
But still, look at the age group, look at the age, look at the age group, look at the age group
So
though.
on this question, I had a question on this one ethnicity. Do people, I didn't look at the statistics on this, but do people prefer to deal with their own race, or they prefer?
You tell me.
That's a good, seriously, I've been asking me thinking about this. Do I have to go for a specific race? I've heard people ask, what language do you speak, you know, when
I think in answer to your question, I would say generally, yes, they do prefer someone, okay? I think as a general rule.
Sure. So I've been trying to hire.
But
race.
yeah, I think that's the case. But
That's good.
I have represented people of all racial backgrounds.
Because you're a lawyer, I trust you.
Okay, well, you just said the word, you just said the magic words.
Of course, trust you.
Okay?
Also depend on relationship.
I know a lot of people that have been taken advantage of by their,
Yeah.
someone
Agency.
within their
Race, yeah.
racial group, okay?
And I find that if you are, your friends might have two ways of looking at you. I don't want to ruin my friendship.
Yes.
I don't want you to know my finance,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
finances.
You know,
That's another problem.
I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah, that's
one of our, the parents of one of our sons' childhood friend, you know, went through schools together, went through scouts together and everything. Didn't use me to sell a house and buy a house. And yeah, it drives my wife crazy.
When
Yeah,
did you-
it kind of, I'd say fractured, it kind of semi-fractured the relationship with the mom a little bit. You know, and I tell her, hey, it just goes with the territory. I can't get them all, can't get 100%. Okay. But I take at the same time, my oldest, dearest friend that I had known since 3 years old, he does everything with me, or did, unfortunately. Sad to say, he took his life a few years ago.
Oh.
But my point
Took
is,
his life?
he would never think of using anybody else but me. So you get people on both sides of the fence. I mean, and granted, a lot of my clients are friends. I mean, again, it goes back to reputation, honesty, trustworthy,
The same culture.
top of mind awareness. I mean, I have some, my A++ client is not Caucasian, okay? But anyway, now, the other thing I forgot to mention in my bio, and it'll sound corny, I'm an Eagle Scout.
Nice.
The reason I say that is because I remember when I was putting together my resume, and I put all this everything, and at the last line, Eagle Scout, 1968.
Before we were born.
I went on a listening presentation, had it all ready to go. I mean, I was raring to go. Mrs. Seller is on kidney dialysis and did her dialysis in the house, and was having a rough day. And Mr. Seller comes to the door and said, "Hey, Steve, you know," and he was referred to me by past clients, and "Hey, Steve, wife's not having a good day. We're not gonna be able to meet with you." Yeah, no problem. Go here, Tom, take this, review it, and get back to me. We'll get back together in a few days. I call him up, and he goes, "Yeah, she's doing better," and he goes, "I started reading your presentation, and as soon as I read Eagle Scout in your resume, I stopped. I didn't look at anything else. Now, that's kind of a generational thing, but again, my point is, you don't know what a person's hot button is going to be. You may have something in you may have some award or accomplishment or something that might connect with that person. Maybe they have the same thing. Maybe they did the same thing as you. And it could be as simple as that. Does that make sense? That's what I said. So you really gotta, I know if you've taken any of our classes, I know there's always a class, one session on value proposition or unique selling proposition. That's really important. Yeah.
I think quick question, man, can you talk about the time frame basically? For example, few of my friends were interested in buying a home, and like selling a home or buying a vacation home. What is the time frame I should look at that immediately go to the home and do the presentation and go to the next steps? Is it this week, the same week, or the week after that, or 2 weeks, or 3 weeks?
I mean, from the time that they reach out to you, they're interested in, say, in selling?
They said that they want to buy a new home, or buy a second home.
Okay.
What is the time frame I should look at, for me to push them to go do the presentation and show them the case?
How soon are they ready to buy?
Okay.
That's one of the questions is, when you want to buy a home, when do you want to buy it? Okay, now, regardless of when they want to buy it, the first thing you need to determine is, what's their financial wherewithal and ability to buy? Are they now already in a position from a cash, income, and credit standpoint to buy, or do they have some things that they've got to work on? See, because not everybody knows where they stand, okay, especially if you're talking about a second home or investment property.
Yeah.
That means if you already own a home, and let's assume you've got a loan on it, you've got debt, so, you gotta know what are your ratios. So in that case, I mean, step one, the very first thing you do is,
immediately the next week or the same week?
Immediately, I connect a lead with my mortgage person, immediately.
Oh, okay. I didn't do that, because I know both
No,
these guys
no,
are working at two big companies, one is Apple, the other one is Lab Research.
Yeah, well, there are times where you can assume, we all know what assume means, you can assume that the person is well qualified.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there may, for some people, again, with interest rates where they are today, you can't make this argument, but you go back when the interest rates were sub 3%, financing a purchase may have made a lot more sense than paying all cash. And they need to sit down and look at the different options to decide. See, that's part of meeting with a mortgage person, is to determine how are you going to go about buying this house.
Okay, first step is to connect them to the mortgage.
Yeah, if it's a buyer, you want to get them with their mortgage person right away. And you want to create that three-way relationship.
Okay.
See, and
I never knew this.
The more solid that relationship is,
okay,
they're connected to you.
or they bound with.
Now, what change come January 1st?
Not amounts.
Well, it's been around since August 17th, but
President,
The broker.
new president.
Agreement.
by a broker agreement.
August.
See, we're in a different world now, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, we had it prior to showing property. Until January 1st, we had the requirement prior to showing property. Well, now we have it as soon as practicable, but no later than writing an offer. We have two different descriptions of when it's required. See, so here's the thing, your mindset is,
I have 3 people looking for a home basically,
so your mindset is, a buyer is the same as a seller when it comes to getting them into contract. A buyer-broker agreement is a buyer listing agreement. That's your mindset. Now we go back to, what's your relationship with that buyer? Is it such that you need to or have to get them into a contract immediately? Depends on who they are. Depends on how quick they're gonna do something. I have a lot of buyers. I think my buyer pipeline at the end of the year was between 11 to 15 different people in all various states and stages. I don't have a buyer broker with any of them, but they're my clients. I don't plan on losing any of them, okay, because of the relationship I have with them. I don't have to jump in and do that right away.
So none of
Now,
them-
you have to be careful when you're newer and you're dealing with people who that relationship may not be that strong. You need to get the agreement to protect yourself. So that's something you need. If you've got a serious buyer, ready, willing, and able,
Your close friends of
you
mine.
need to work on your buyer presentation, and you need to get them in the contract. Now remember, the buyer broker agreement can't be for more than 3 months. That doesn't mean you can't extend it. So just understand, if you do something early on, you got a 3-month deal, every 3 months, they're still out there, you're gonna be, but that gives you another reason to be talking to them, okay? Depending on how frequently you're talking to them in the meantime. Because what happens usually, you get them on a listing, you get them pre-approved, and you put them on a listing alert, and then they just sit there and look at property, but you need to be following up with them. Don't forget them. Check in. Check in every 7, 10 days, 15 days. Don't just leave them out there for a long, long time. You gotta follow up. You gotta continue to follow up. You follow up with people even if you have nothing to say. It doesn't matter. You still want them to know you're thinking of them. All right. How did buyers find their agent? Referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative? 43%. Used the agent previously to buy or sell home? 13%. Then it drops off. Well, then, did social media make the list? Let's see.
all over the place.
Yeah, it's in the other. Inquired about property viewed online, 7%. Well, that they could have saw it in social media, but probably not. Probably they saw it on Zillow, Redfin, website referred by another agent broker. See how things drop off dramatically? All the things that you think are the way to get the client are not high percentage activities.
I do have a point, or something that I'm thinking of. Not many realtors have a realtor social presence. Because whoever I follow as far as realtor,
Right.
you do have to have a
And
social
do you
presence.
have to?
You don't have to.
No. The numbers I'm glad the numbers say you don't need it. Mine was terrible. You started looking at mine. Mine's terrible. Folks, I am ranked in the top 1% of all realtors nationwide by volume. Bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
My online presence is irrelevant. See, you need to understand, a lot of people are trying to sell you stuff. Okay? They're pushing all this stuff because they're trying to sell you products and get you to subscribe. Okay? And you can subscribe yourself till you're broke if you're not careful.
So what does it really mean top 1% of Steve?
There's 1,550,000 realtors in the nation, which represents about 1/3 of all licensees. I was in the top 6,000 out of 1,550,000.
In terms of revenue?
In terms of volume.
Oh, in terms of revenue?
Volume.
Okay, volume.
They measure it by volume and by units.
Okay.
I was in the top half of 1% by volume. By volume. But again, when we talk about realtors represent about 1/3 of all licensees currently. That number's going to go down.
What does that mean? 1/3 of the licensed realtors?
Only about 1/3 of all licensees in the nation are members of NAR.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that number's gonna go down. Because you got, Redfin pulling out, you got all these people that don't like NAR and they're pulling out of NAR, so the membership is gonna go down. I mean, there's been predictions that it could go under 1 million, but I don't think it'll get that low. But it's gonna come down. Now, I hope you're don't take, I don't want you to take what I'm saying as bragging or anything like that. I'm just trying to give you a perspective of things. A lot of stuff gets pushed at you, and it's not all what it seems to be or is. Even if you talk to you look at agents that claim to be doing social media at a high level, what they're doing, folks, is they're nurturing relationships through social media. Yeah. It's not the social media itself, it's the relationships they're creating with social media. So it's still a relationship business. It's just a matter of how are you going to go about creating those relationships.
And value, I think.
What's that?
And value, because you give value.
Yeah.
Some information.
But look, but what you see, a lot of the social media, and you heard Wilson talk about the other day, and I hear it from more and more. A lot of people, when it comes to social media, they're getting away from a lot of the real estate content.
Yeah.
Okay? Why? Because they're using it to create a relationship. My point is, it's not, that's not the only way. Not the only way to, social media is not the only way to create relationships. I'm not saying it, again, just so you know, I'm on the record, everything works. Everything just works at different levels. And the secret to anything you do is consistency, repetitiveness, and consistency. Buyer interviews. Surprise, surprise. Interviewed 71%, only interviewed one agent. Again, you're not competing in most cases. I mean, you've got to be ready for it. That's where your value proposition comes in. Now remember, when you're new in the business, the words I and me are not in your vocabulary when it comes to real estate, the real estate business and real estate sales. It's all about we and us.
Team.
See, you talk about Keller Williams, the market center. You don't talk about yourself individually. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
See, that's what you have to remember. Until you have that, all those deals under your belt, you've got to use the market center. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you paint a true picture. So what the NAR Code of Ethics requires. Any advertising, any marketing you use has to paint a true picture. And if you say, yeah, we sold, whatever statistic you want to use, as long as you're attributing it truthfully to the market center and not you, that's perfectly fine. See, now, and some people, it's interesting, a lot of people don't understand our business. Okay? A lot of things that you've done, they associate as the office having done, or vice versa. Some people think, a lot of people when they hear it, if you're the broker, they think, oh, you're the one making all kinds of money, okay? And it's like, no, real estate brokerages are low margin, high volume businesses. Does that make sense? Even more so in our capping model. Because you only pay X dollars in per year, and then you're 100%. Traditional brokerage without a cap, you're paying a split on everything. So there is more money to be made in the traditional model versus the Keller Williams capping model. What buyers want from their agent. This is kind of interesting. Helping them find the right home to purchase, 50%. I thought they found their house on the internet. I thought they found it searching online. Not when they were surveyed. Help with terms, 12. Help with price negotiation, 11. Help with paperwork, 7. Price of comparable homes, 7. Help determine what they can afford, 4. Teach buyer about neighborhood, 3. But it's interesting. They want that 50% help find the right home. So don't forget that. Don't just assume, oh, and I'm that way a lot. It's like, I just put them on listing alert, and I touch them now and then, and I just wait for them to say, hey, let's go look at 123 Main Street. Okay, you know, it's like, I'm not that lazy. I mean, I'm constantly looking for something that coming soon or something that make me circle a chair and say, hey, I just found this, boom. Okay. Most important factors, experience, 21%. Honesty, there's that honesty and trustworthy again, 19%. Reputation, 15%. Friend or family member, 12%. Knowledge of neighborhood, 9%. Caring, good listener, 8%. Timely, 6%. Seems accessible, 4%. Association with company, 1%. Active in community, 1%. Professional designations, less than 1%. Other, 4%.
What do you mean about associate with company?
Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, who are you with? Which office are you with? They don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
When I went from before
Buyers
I
don't
was
care.
Keller,
Sellers care though.
before I what's that?
Sellers care about that because they want to make
Yeah,
sure you're
but buyers don't
Buyers don't care.
Well, sellers don't care either.
They do because they want market exposure. They think companies are better.
I changed brokerage twice with a listing. My seller could have cared less. I was Century 21 Seville Contempo in Glenmore House. I said, seller's a good friend of mine, past client, you know, but we were in our T-owned, and they come to us on 9/11, the 9/11. Don't even cancel the office meeting. We all show up in that building right there, 9 o'clock in the morning, wondering what's going on, you know. And they announced that we were going to become Coldwell Banker. So while I had my listing, I became Coldwell Banker. So I had to order new signs. I said, you're going to see a new sign out in front. He didn't care.
Steve,
And then I became Keller Williams about a month or about 60 days after that I became Keller Williams. Changed the sign again. Yeah.
I've been in this business over 25 years. I don't think anybody has ever said to me, we picked you because you work for them.
Exactly.
They picked me because of me.
It's all about you. Yeah, it's all that stuff up on top.
I picked the company because I get the support.
But yeah,
As a realtor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So my understanding is listings stay with the brokerage, right?
Brokerage, yes.
yeah, listings, yeah. Well,
The
the buyer broker
brokerage will
agreement too.
give it to you if you move.
Buyer broker
Then
agreement
how-
is
how
with the
when you
broker
change
too.
When you move, they
broker,
usually give it to you.
You
You take it with you.
well, every brokerage has different policies. Most, okay, understand, if you've got a pending listing, then technically under the listing agreement, that pending stays with the brokerage, and a new agent is assigned to finish it out and gets paid from your share. That's what the listing agreement says. What we generally do, what I always did as a broker, if you had a pending sale and you were moving to another broker, I would enter into a referral fee agreement with your new broker for the company dollar owed on that pending, and I would let you take that pending to your new brokerage. But I got paid, we got paid, the split we were due on that. That's the easiest way to do it, but the listing agreement doesn't say that, okay?
And with the non-payment.
Now, and then you have to do, they have to be assigned. You do an exit, you're supposed to do an exit interview, and then, yeah, those listings are all, an assignment is done. Those listings are assigned from one broker to the new broker. Same thing, and it'd be the same thing with buyer broker agreements, because they're all with the broker.
Usually when you.
So you don't own the agreement, the brokerage does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
They don't keep it.
Buyer snapshot. Now, remember the generational breakdown of the sellers. Look at the buyers. Again, this is statewide, California.
Latino?
Look at millennial, look how high millennials are on buyers. Now, the reason that I'm sharing this information with you, is part of the reason I'm sharing this with you, is you need to know who,
This is a NAR
you need to
statistics,
know
right?
this is CAR, this is California.
Yeah, this
This is California.
Our area is very different, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
But you need to know the demographics and the generations of the group, the target groups that you're going after. You just need to be mindful of who you're going after with respect to your marketing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. The next thing you need to know when it comes to numbers, and what I was talking about earlier about the pie and how big the pie is. I went back to 2010. My California numbers are what I'll call, I've taken off of a graph, they're kind of rough estimates, but not that big of a deal. But if we go back to 2010 and look at the average monthly sales, the numbers of sales of single family homes. This doesn't include condos and townhouses. You can see in California statewide, we were hovering around 400,000 all the way through 2021. And then we've dropped dramatically since then. Why have those numbers dropped? The last 3 years.
2 reasons, COVID and high interest rates.
COVID and high interest rates, correct. And the high interest rates caused what we call locked-in sellers, locked into their low interest rates. The last statistic I saw was that in the state of California, 70% of all homeowners with a loan had an interest rate below 4%. And then I just saw a national statistic the other day. Nationally, 73% were under 5%. Okay? Now, but so in statewide, on average, we're selling 32,000 houses in the whole state. But now let's break it down to the Tri-Cities. Fremont, 1,333 for the year. An average per month of 110 houses. Now, even when you go to the high point, we're looking at, go up here to the high point at 157.
2015.
Newark, an average of 26. Union City, Union City got dropped off that. It's been a crazy couple days. 30 in Union City. So you've got a total of 166 houses per month. That's for about, last time I saw the number, I think we had 1,400 agents in the Tri-City area, something like that. It's a big number. That's the pie, folks. What did I tell you earlier? 20% doing 8% of the business?
Yeah.
Could be 90-10. What's 20% of 166? That's what you got. That's what's out there for you, month in and month out.
8.
I did an 80-20. I taught a class one day to a principal's class in Laney College in Oakland, and I talked about the 80-20 rule. And basically, I showed them students. I said, you got these are the agents, and those are the sales. This 20%'s doing that 80%. This 80%'s doing that 20%. That's about as basic as you can get it. And when I did that, the professor was a help yourself broker. He's sitting in the back. He's going, he goes, what are you sharing that with them for? You're gonna discourage them from getting into business. I said, I'm showing them the truth about the business they're getting in and what to expect. Do the math. What's 20% of 166?
30.
What is 166?
The total average for the three tri-city grid.
Oh, I see.
That's not a lot of units. You're not, how many people are ready to get up and walk out? No, you understand the point I'm trying to make here. Because I don't think a lot of, we talk about, yeah, go do this, go do that. We talk about this, but you don't realize the numeric side of things.
If I can add, actually.
There's condos and townhouses. I did the same analysis for condos, townhouses. The condo market's way down, okay?
So Steve,
But on average, we're looking at 75.
I was just gonna add, on the previous slide, you did the average.
Average.
The average is actually misleading, because the recent numbers are even smaller.
Are they?
Yeah, because your average, because the higher numbers have
Yeah.
the numbers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're right. No, the recent numbers are, no, you're right,
Yeah,
no.
It's even smaller.
Oh, yeah, if you look at these numbers, oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you're fighting for an even smaller pie. It's not as big as
You're-
what that average says.
You know, I have.
And
a
it
question.
it probably won't change dramatically because, well, it will. There's still a lot of my generation, but we're all gonna start moving on.
What's the age limit of the baby boomers? What is the bracket they look at?
Baby boomer is
Why they call baby
from
boomer?
about 19.
Because they were born right after the Second World War.
Right after World War II, 1945,
They used to.
1945
produce
to
baby
about
Babies.
1965, 68, about 45 to
Why are they baby
65.
boomers? Seriously.
Because we had a boom of babies after the war. All the soldiers came back. They got married.
On a
had
boom of
kids.
babies.
Why did the baby
Lots of
We had a
They
big.
were happy.
Okay.
Lots of babies.
After there's some kind of.
At one point,
booming going on.
at one point in the
Babies
city
were
of
coming.
Fremont, half of the population of Fremont was in school.
When, what?
At one point
Yeah.
in the
Wow.
60s, half of the population of Fremont was in school.
Wow. That's the baby.
That's the
boomer.
baby boomers.
No way.
Yeah.
Good business to sell school lunch then, huh?
All right. Oh yeah, no, Avi makes a
That's
good point.
interesting.
Now, right now, that pie is even
So
smaller.
we should target that baby boomer
It actually
generation.
happened.
That's a huge.
Well, yeah,
number.
that's your seller, those are your sellers. That's what my first, that's
Well, I'll
what.
tell you what the problem with that is.
Yeah.
The interest rate problem that we talked about.
Yeah, well, yeah,
If they
that's-
sell their home, where the heck are they gonna go and live?
Yeah, see, that's
And
the whole.
do they have to get a mortgage?
Right, yeah.
And if they've been in their house any real length of time, the tax consequences of selling are pretty immense.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they're gonna say, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, they've got Prop 19, it, just depends on what, depends on their situation. There are some things, you got Prop 19, you do have reverse mortgages, don't forget reverse mortgages, folks. They're underutilized, and they're gonna become more and more an integral part of people's estate plans. My recommendation to you is if you wanna give advice to somebody who's over 55, or sitting over 62, is that they go apply for a reverse mortgage now while they're healthy. And it's an equity line of credit, it's not gonna cost them anything, it's just gonna sit there as a line of credit. It's a lot easier to get it when you're healthy. As soon as your health starts to go, because you gotta sit in front of a TV, I've
What age is that?
overseen
What
it.
age can you get that?
62 and up. You've gotta,
The older you are, the more you can.
you gotta sit through about a 1 hour presentation training class, and they ask questions and whatnot. If you're not sharp, you're not gonna pass that test. And I've
Oh, you have
sat
to
through them
go
for
through the
clients.
test, medical test or something?
Not a medical, no, they
Medical test.
question you about, they wanna make sure there isn't any fraud or undue influence on you as a borrower. They wanna make sure you understand what you're getting into, so they go through reverse mortgages and the pros and the cons, and they'll say, now, remember this, and remember this, you know, and because I'm gonna quiz you on it later, and if you don't pass the quiz, you don't get the mortgage, okay? Anyway, let's move on.
The fees for that are much higher, like I always.
The fees are a little less now than they used to be. At the end of the day, they still play out for somebody. And just understand that a reverse mortgage company, when they show the appreciation schedule, they cannot use an appreciation rate higher than 4%. And it's all a matter of years of holding. I mean, everyone I've seen, depending on how old you are, the appreciation is going to outperform the mortgage.
And there are so many creative ways that reverse mortgage lenders are using now to be attractive to people.
Oh, yeah,
Like
no, it's-
giving them money
yeah.
and then monthly payments and things.
Yeah, but like I said, the key is get one in place while you're healthy, and just let it just sit there. And then when the time comes, you can start writing checks.
Just like insurance.
Yeah. Okay. Another piece of knowing the market is identifying the characteristics of your market. And you should, if you're going to be doing it, if you're going to be in this business, and or if you're going to be geographically farming, you need to know your market. What's the inventory? What's the average number of days a home stays on the market? What's the typical price? Based on inventory, what type of real estate market are you in? Is it a buyer, seller, or is it a neutral market? Less than 6 months, seller's market. 6 months, neutral market. More than that, buyer's market. What are the current average mortgage interest rates? What is the employment and unemployment rate in your market, and what's the growth rate of your community? Those are, if you don't know that, that should be your homework. One of your homework is to know that. You want to know that for your area, the city you're working in. You also want to know if you're going to pick a farm, you need to know that for the farm. Now, how do you pick a farm? I don't think I've talked to anybody in here, maybe you a little bit, yeah, on farming. When it comes to picking a geographic farm, what you do is you've got to figure out how many homes are in the farm. Should be at least 250. From a bulk mail standpoint, it should be at least 200, but from a just marketing standpoint, you want at least 250 homes. Second question, what's the absorption rate? Of all the properties that are listed, how many sell? Well, what do you think the absorption rate is for us in Fremont? Probably close to 100%. But in other parts of the country, it's not. But for us, it's a pretty high percentage. So absorption rate's not a big deal. Okay. Now, the next question is, how many homes are selling in that farm per year? What's the turnover rate? Because just like we did this for just real estate in general, based on the average, the turnover rate, that's going to tell you how many homes are going to sell that are available to list, and what percentage of that can you expect to get? Last step, does any agent already have market share? And in what is that percentage? Now, from a national perspective, if you see somebody with 30% market share or more, you're going to have an uphill battle probably to make any headway into that farm. Now, I can tell you, I've done market share research in some geographic areas, some farms, and even the top agents aren't even near 10%. But you just need to understand when you're picking the farm, you know, if you see 1 or 2 names that keep popping up, even if it's through 3, 6, 7%, you're gonna have a tougher time breaking into that market than if you see no repetition at all. Okay? So again, but the other thing you have to do when you farm, we already said the C word, consistency. Once you start, you can't stop. David Vigil is one of the most successful farmers that I know. 900 houses, Tamarack, South Hayward. He knocks 25 doors a day, 5 days a week, never stops. When he gets done with 900, those 900, he just starts over again. He's been doing that for years. I think he's kind of slowed back a little bit, but he did that for years and years and years. Whenever a listing came up there, without even looking at it, he'd go, I'll bet you lunch it's David's. It's David's, okay? In fact, the last one that came up, sure enough, there's David. Okay? Interestingly, he doesn't.
Livermore.
Yeah.
I'm
He lives in
showing
Livermore
you.
now. You know, interestingly, he lived in Benchmark, Centerville. He didn't farm his neighborhood. He personally did not farm his neighborhood. He farmed Tamarack, he farmed Rosewood, where I lived. Anyway, that's the bit. Just know that you do those 4 things. We don't have as many areas that are heavily farmed as we did. When I first got in business, many of our neighborhoods were already grabbed. You know, high end, high numbers.
How do you know if a certain city or neighborhood is already tapped in with
You
certain?
use the MLS. You can add the listing agent's name to your search in the MLS, and it'll come up and show you every listing in that person's name. Hey, you just do your MLS search. And if ideally you should know the boundaries of your farm, and then you just do a polygon search, map it out, and then put in the listing agents. Well, what you do, you start out first with, you just run. You want to go back. I would go back 2 years, but just go back 1 year. Go give me all solds from 1/1/2024 to 12/31/24, and just see a whole list of it. It's not going to be that long, and you'll see the listing agent's names. Make sure that's one of your fields, and the listing agent names will all be there. Then you've got to figure out what percentage do they have. Not complicated, real easy.
Steve, quick question on, you have number 7, what's the growth rate of your community? Like, being in Fremont, everything's established, what do you mean by establishing what the growth rate is of a community you're farming?
That would be if there's development going on. Remember, you gotta remember, the stuff we have is for nationwide.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you have areas where Dublin has a growth rate.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but they're still building
Like
lots of
Newark
houses.
out where they're building.
Yeah, we don't have much infill anymore here. Absent rezoning, we don't have much infill, but yeah. Growth rate would be development, new development going on.
All right.
Yeah. Who's seen this before? That's our lead generation model. So the class is all about prospecting and marketing, so we're talking, the emphasis is on the top part, the lead capture part, capturing leads through prospecting and marketing. Once you get, once you get the lead, what do you do? You've got the lead, you got the contact information, what do you do with it? You put it in your database. Now, it either goes in as a lead or it's a contact. Basically, a lead is someone that you've only had a one-way conversation with. Contact is someone that you've had a two-way conversation and you've got a relationship. And then you cultivate that, convert for an appointment, and that then results in new and repeat business and referral business. Prospecting and marketing are lead generating activities that deliver leads into your business. Now, prospecting is supposed to give you immediate results. It'll give you immediate result with respect to a lead that may not be immediate as to a listing sale, but it will give you an immediate result with a lead. It is more proactive. and it's time intensive, okay? Marketing on the other side leads to long-term results, is more passive, and is more money intensive, costs money. Now, I submit to you that you need to have a plan that incorporates both, based on what you can afford, based on what kind of budget you can afford. A database is a container that holds information of your leads and contacts. Command. Is your everyone got using command? Using it at a high level?
No.
Yeah, well, you need, that needs to be your other priority, is command at a high level. Smart database allows you to have planned and meaningful communication with your database. You at a minimum, folks, and I'm terrible at this. I mean, I have multiple databases. Your command database, you should have, everybody that's in your command database, you should have their email address, their address, and you should have them on a smart plan and a bi-weekly neighborhood update. These are very simple things to do without doing anything else. And how much money does it cost? Nothing. Okay? Leads are people you've earned the right to at least have a one-way conversation with. Contacts are people you've held a two-way conversation with and whom you've established a value-based relationship with. Again, we talked earlier, leads are the habit nets. Contacts are the nets.
Smart plan, bi-weekly neighborhood update, what is the other one?
Those are two.
Oh, yeah, only two of these.
Those are the two.
Okay.
Yeah, just set them up a bi-weekly neighborhood update, and then every 2 weeks they get an update on their neighborhood, because the system knows what neighborhood they're in based on their address, so it just automatically knows what to send them. And then you've got a smart. There's multiple different smart plans. Now when you get into smart plans, there's smart plans based on where they are in the process. You've got one smart plan for someone that you're nurturing a lead versus someone who's already in your sphere of influence as a contact. Those are different smart plans. Okay? There's a ton of smart plans, so you got to look at all of them and kind of figure out which one is right for this person. Relationships must be attended to, cared for, and cultivated. Again, that's all in your prospecting and marketing. How often are you calling them? How often are you touching them with mail, email, and so forth? Types of communication: phone, email, text message, face-to-face. The app, handwritten communication. Yeah, look what's not up there. Direct mail. But it is a form of communication. Don't forget it. The database will generate leads in the form of new, repeat, or referral business. I have, I'll show one tree to you, because some of you may not have seen this. My A++ client. For a long time, my A+ client, I had 10 transactions traced to, but they got surpassed by a couple of others. This couple, I got a sign call from them in 1996. Okay. I started the business in '89. This is a sign call in 1996. From that sign call, I got 3 listings, 5 buy-sides, and 3 referrals within the family. And then I got a referral to a neighbor that led to a listing and 2 referral fees. $15 deals. One person, one couple. And I am currently working with them to find, now 3 of these properties are 4-plexes. And husband's going through a job change and may not we were looking multi-unit, but now he's thinking about a different cash flow business that he can just run. He's tired of the startups. He's been working for startups and he wants to get out of that rat race. So we're looking for a business opportunity for him to consider. But they're still interested in buying a beachfront property in Santa Cruz, Monterey. So I'm still working with them on these other two deals, two deals. But direct from him, this referral fee, the neighbor was referred to me. The neighbor bought, first one, an investment property. I referred him to a Southern California agent. He bought a fourplex, Southern California. I got a referral fee off that. And then I sold his house last year, 2.5 million, I have 2.3 million. And then I think I sold his house for about 2.3, and then I referred him to, they moved to Santa Barbara. I referred him to Santa Barbara agent. They bought a $2.9 million house. So my referral fee was over $18,000 on that. That's just one example. I have examples of 15 plus. The other examples, the same number, 15. I have a lot of them are 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the beauty of the touching and the consistency. You can't shotgun this business. Oh, I'm gonna do this, and throw that out there and see what happens. You gotta keep doing it. Oh, so that's why you gotta do all that research I talked about earlier to figure out who do I wanna go after. If it's gonna be haven't met. Now, who do you think I market to the most? My contacts, my sphere, okay? Now, you need to categorize you've got the full print out of this. It's got real estate, I think it's got real estate service providers below agents, and then other. This is a summarized list. I always tell people, okay, the average person knows 286 people. So you ought to have at least, if you're average, you ought to have at least 286 in your database. I always say, if you had a son or daughter who's getting married 6 months from now, who would be on the potential wedding invitation list? Now, when I put together my database in 1989, I had my parents' Christmas card list. I had my high school graduation party list. I had my college graduation invitation list. I had my law school graduation party list. We had over 200 people for my law school graduation party was in 2 yards. Okay, we had 200 people. Okay, I had the names of everybody who had worked with me during my 7 years at that water heater manufacturing plant. I paid the payroll clerk $100 to give me the list of everybody that had been there. Okay.
The
So
one
you got to think. You got to think.
Biggest community.
Huh? Yeah.
So
now flip to the next thing. Here's the question you were asking. What do I say? What do I say? What do I ask? I'm building my business on people I know and the people they know. You've got it in your handout. Do you know of anyone from family or friends who work in your neighborhood or group who you belong to who's thinking of buying, selling a home, or investing in real estate? I'd be pleased to be a resource for them. There's your script. If you hear of someone with real estate need, will you keep me in mind and let me know right away? You need to get in the habit of asking for referrals in everything you send. I was a follower of Brian Buffini for a long time, building business by referral. Okay. Every letter that goes out, everything that I send out says, oh, by the way, if you know anyone thinking of buying some real estate, please give me their name and number, and I'll be happy to contact them. Since December 30th, okay, right now I have 11 listings in my pipeline and 11 plus buyers in my pipeline. Now I actually haven't updated. Since December 30th, I've got a past client called. Mom owns a house on 3.5 acres in Mission, and another 100 acres and 2 other small lots. And I'm waiting for the call to go look at the property. Look at the properties, there's 4 parcels. Past client, mom, okay. And I've known mom for a long time too. New Year's Day, former scoutmaster of my son's Boy Scout troop that I work closely hand in hand with as the committee chair, calls me, his son and daughter, where lease is coming up and they're thinking about buying. 2 days later, I get a text from a contractor whose wife is a retired agent who I used to work with, and he was having trouble getting insurance on a 7-plex in Newark, so he was getting tired of being a landlord, and I gave him a referral for the insurance. I gave him Stephen Klein for insurance. Stephen Klein got him into a new policy, much higher than his previous policy, but got him into the policy because he was free because he had been canceled. But he may sell that seven units. I comped it out at 3 to 3.1 million. And then 2 days ago, I get an email from an old high school classmate, Boy Scout. I've past client. I've either sold or for 3 deals with him. He's got 6 acres in Salinas next to a golf club, surrounded by development with large homes on half-acre lots. And I got my buddy in Carmel, Ben Beasley, great guy. I said, Ben, I got a referral for you. You know, Ben already knows the owner of the golf club. He knows the developer. He knows, I got him super connected. 25% referral fee. So I got, those are four forms of business in the last, 12 days? It's only January 10th. I did that was in 12 days. That's the beauty of having systematized marketing and prospecting. Make sense? Again, I'm not bragging. I want you to know, I want you to see and know what works and how it works and what it can lead to. Now, you've got to decide, first of all, who is your sphere of influence? Your sphere of influence, are they leads or are they contacts? Contacts. So that means if you establish your sphere, they're going into it, their contacts, they're going into a 36 touch on the right side. Because you already have a relationship with them. But if they're a lead, you go 19 touch. And it's all laid out there for you. You call the leads, you call quarterly, you touch them monthly with an email. Command takes care of that for you. 2 touches with a promotional direct mail, such as a magnet calendar, printed market report. And then consider an annual event, party, movie screening, get together. At some point, something's going to happen. There's going to be a high value touch. It's usually going to be a phone call or a face-to-face where they want to do something. They're asking, they're asking for something specific. And now, you're talking, you're having a 2-way communication. And now they become a contact. Now they go into the 36 touch. Okay?
Those 4 touches, the quarterly phone calls, generally people don't answer if they're not your contacts. How do you make them materialize?
Well, you call them more than once. Don't stop.
Okay. So
You can always. What I would do if I called and left a message and didn't hear, I would call them a second time, and then my third would be a text. Now, do you have their email?
Yeah.
If you have their email, you could follow up. If there may not be. See, great question. You're trying to latch onto that person because you want to convert that person. You're not going to convert them all. Don't lose sleep over the person that didn't return your call. Go on to the next person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
See, the problem you have is if you don't have enough If you don't have enough people in your pipeline, do you think I lose sleep when I go to bed at night about how much money I'm gonna make? Say no.
Wasn't sure.
Yeah, no. Again, not to brag, my CPA says, are you gonna contribute $300,000 to your defined benefit plan again this year? And I'm like, because that's how much I did the year before. And I thought a second, said, yeah, not a problem. Because I know the business is there. I'm only on January 10th. That make sense? So you need to get to a point where, here's the thing, you need to get to a point where the clients need you, you don't need the client. Now that doesn't happen overnight, but that's your end goal. Does that make sense? That's where you can take a harder stance on commissions. I get what Wilson's talking about, being touchy-feely and win-win and all that, but at the end of the day, you got a family to support. You got bills to pay. If you're married, ask yourself, what would your spouse say if you communicated back to your spouse some of the things that you negotiated away to get business? Would they be okay with it? Would they be happy with it? My wife would be livid if she knew some of the stuff that I do, if I told her. She's a very high D. She was in sales. She looks at this business entirely different. But be careful. I understand exactly where Wilson's coming from. He's trying to create a relationship and trying to make sure you get the deal. But don't undervalue yourself. Don't underestimate your value and what you bring to the table. Again, you all have a unique selling proposition, and that's what you need to communicate.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go through this quick because I've got some other stuff I want to go. Now again, this is kind of repeating the lead generation model. You've got the capture. The capture is first step, capturing the leads. And this is all about, what do you say just to get the information? If I were to need to contact you, what would that number be? If I found exactly what you're looking for, how would I contact you? Okay? Connecting is laying a foundation for a working relationship. What's going on? Something didn't. You know what? Something. Let's go back here. I skipped. Something's not.
Yeah, the questions, right?
Yeah, those questions. Do you have this in your handout?
Yes.
For some reason this didn't get in the PowerPoint. This is, who's taking bold? Okay, this is the great, I was talking earlier about, if you're getting married, if your son or daughter get married in the next 6 months, who would you invite? Well, this is great. Everybody have this? It's come right after the sphere of influence.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with who to put in your database, go through this questionnaire.
Yeah, who's the busiest person in your mind?
Okay? Here's something that I probably hit on about almost half of these, I think, in my own database. But I like some of these. Who owes you money?
Yeah.
Who would lend you $100 with a phone call? Who would come get you at 2 a.m. with no questions asked? I've done that as the attorney / brother-in-law. Who is the wealthiest person you know? The wealthiest person I know is in my database.
That's you?
He is. What's that?
That's you?
No, it's not me. He is 9-figure rich.
Wow.
From the optical business. He started his dad in the eyeglass business. who cut your hair? Until he unexpectedly passed away, the guy that cut my
My
hair.
barber is my client.
What's that?
See, my barber is
Yeah,
my client.
I got more referrals from my barber than you can imagine. My barber cut the hair of a lot of different realtors, but I got all the referrals from him. He didn't give them to anybody, he gave them to me. Now, I taught him how to get business by referral too. I took him handwritten notes, I gave him the note scripts, and I said, at the end, every day when you get home, write thank you notes to 5 of the people whose hair you cut that day, thanking them for their business, and ask them if they know anybody else. I don't know if he said, oh, this is great, I don't know if he ever did it or not, but that's, when we talk about business referral, that's a perfect example. Hairdressers are great referrals because they're talking to people, they're talking to men and women about their life. They know what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
I sold a commercial building in Niles, in November, had 3 tenants. One tenant was a nail salon, one was a hair salon. The woman running that hair salon, I mean, I barely opened my mouth about a coming soon listing, and she's got a buyer for it. Oh yeah, it's actually somebody I went to high school with, younger than me, and lives in Niles, looking for a son. And next thing you know, I connected with this guy.
Wow.
I'll just go ahead and share this. When I was a pretty good soccer player. Senior year, beginning of the season, we're playing the frost soft in the practice, and I go up to head a ball, and the defender put his leg between my legs, and this was November. It's cold. Our field was like rock hard, 8 in the morning, and I go over, land on my collarbone, break my collarbone. I'm out for the season. Okay. This guy that she referred me to, he's the guy that tripped me in playing soccer. It's real. Small world. That's small world. I mean, how could anyway, where was I going? Anyways, and then she had her lease is coming up in a few years. The new owner, I represented the buyer too. I didn't think I thought the buyer was going to agree to extend her lease. Well, he subsequently told her that he may not. So then she's coming in, she's going to see me. She goes, I need your help, man. You got to find me another place because I may have to move out here in a couple of years and so forth. But anyway, I mean, do you think she's in my database now?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a raving fan of mine. I mean, I took her and the other tenants, they were so cooperative, and I have a new client that owns a donut shop, and I took them both bags full of donuts after closing, and just thanking them for their cooperation. But again, the other guy thinks the husband of the nail salon operator thinks I walk on water, and he's just like, because he calls me up with questions. He goes, oh, I'm so glad I met you, because I got a resource to get free legal advice from. What was the other one? Who did you send holiday cards to last year? Yeah, like I said, I had my parents' holiday list when I created mine. Who do you know in politics? Who are your old high school classmates? Some of you probably heard me. I do my high school class reunions. And I've done every reunion since the 20th. And I've done I'm probably approaching almost half a million commissions from my high school class. Okay. That's a great database to have, because what's great about the high school classmates is it starts out early, in the early years, it starts out 2-level, because it's them and their parents. So a lot of my deals I did initially was their parents, and then they most of them already owned, but they would become seller/buyers, and then as we've gotten older, then it's their kids. So that one group ends up being 3 generations. So it's triple in size. I'll submit to you folks, you can run a class reunion for your high school wherever you live. You don't have to live close to the high school to do it. I went to Mission San Jose High School. I went to Hopkins in Mission. In fact, I'm 2 years away from 55th reunion.
Wow. I
mean, I'm already planning. I've already got wheels in motion for the 55th because I'm 2 years. Less than 2 years away now. By August, by August of this year, I'll have a committee in place. I have pretty much a standing committee. I'll have a committee in place, and we'll have a venue picked by August for 2026.
Amazing.
But now I'm touching a couple hundred people, even more regularly than I normally do.
But how do you promote yourself in these events? Is it just keeping it casual conversation?
No,
or
I have a, it's kind of, couple ways. We have multiple events. The reunion will run from Friday to Sunday, so we have multiple events. We'll have a program, and then I'll collect money for sponsorships from business owners, and I donate $1,000, and then I have a whole page in the program.
Right.
So everybody gets that program. And then I'm also in a PowerPoint. It's kind of, it's not supposed to be funny, but it gets a lot. We do a memorial on Sunday morning where we show everyone who's passed away. I'm happy to say that over the last 3 years, the list hasn't grown that much, at least not for my class, knock on wood. But anyway, but whoever prepared that had my one-page big color splash flyer was the last page of the presentation after going through all the people that passed away. I didn't even know it was in there. That popped up on the screen, and everybody started laughing. It's like, yeah, well, it's like, hey, I put a lot of time and effort in this, but I get business from it. It works. You could do it with college too. I only knew one person that I graduated college with because I went full time for 2 years and part time for 5 years at night, so I didn't know anybody and the guy I knew, he grew up around the block from me. I didn't even know he was in my class when we graduated. What are the names of your coworkers from your previous positions? Again, see, that's the thing. You worked in previous places. You know a lot of people. So you got it. This should jog your mind about, man, or even just. Better yet, folks, if they're in your phone, just pick them up and call them. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Just start a conversation. They may know you're in real estate, they may not. Remember, who knows what Ford is? You all know Ford?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your conversation. And when you get to the occupation part, after they get done telling you about them, they're going to naturally ask you about you and what you do. And that opens the door to talk about real estate. Now, if you're going to call someone and you think you know where they live, what do you do first? Facebook. No, that's not where I was going. That's the techie in you. Go to the tax rolls. Where do they live? How long? What do they own? How long have they lived there? I want to know as much about them before I pick up the phone. And so then I know where to take. Now I know where to take that conversation. There's a comment in there in the connection stage about pre-closing. No. Have an end in mind and in your questioning. Does that make sense? If you don't, just an interesting sidelight. I saw a post from George Johnson, actually used to be here. He's a lone guy. He went to Washington, and he's got me I'm on the Washington High group, reunion group, just because I wanted to see what they were doing. Well, he reached out to everybody and said, anybody hear from this guy that lives in Pacific Palisades? No one responded. And I go, oh, that's interesting. So I check out Pacific Palisades. I find the guy. Guy owns 5 residential and commercial properties. His house is over almost 8,000 square feet. Pacific Palisades. From the map, I think it's gone. He's got another property. I can't remember now if it's commercial residential in Malibu. Probably gone. That poor guy, I'm almost certain he lost 2 of his 5 properties this week.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, terrible. What was I talking about?
Bold memory jogger.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that should, like I said, that if you're trying to figure out who's in my sphere, there's your sphere. Let's go back, okay. On the prospecting and marketing, some of this is self-explanatory, I know. When it comes to prospecting, you've got, FSBOs and expireds. I've never been a big fan of them, but, there's not a lot of FSBOs out there. There are expireds. If you get into expireds, there's a lot of competition. People are getting inundated with calls. People hate getting the calls. Circle prospecting. Be careful. Apartment complexes, generally speaking, folks, you can't walk door to door in an apartment complex or even a condo complex for that matter, okay? Anything you do door to door, you should limit to single family homes because you're breaking rules when you do it otherwise, okay? Recently sold listings, recently listed, community outreach, charity, volunteer work, key relationships, teaching and speaking opportunities, meals, door-to-door canvassing, networking events, booths and kiosks. How you been doing with your booth, G2?
Good.
How'd you do? Did you get some leads?
Yeah, that's, every event I have, I get either buyer or seller, guaranteed.
You get one, at least one.
Every
Yeah,
transaction.
you always get, so you get at least one
Yeah.
or the other, yeah.
Yes, every one of them, that's why I was insistent doing that.
Yeah, no,
Where was the?
Community events.
community event, yeah.
Last one we did was a school, one of my staff attended, he's a teacher. And they had a bazaar for the new year starting, they had an event.
Sure.
I said, let's put a.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a listing from that.
I did door knocking at an apartment complex.
Yeah, supposed to.
What about the single family with HOA?
Most single family
But
HOAs
they go
don't
with all the
restrict it.
rules.
But most HOAs and apartment complex do not allow
Yeah, the rules
soliciting. Walk-ins, we don't get many.
No.
I mean, when I was over here, I think we had maybe 1 or 2 walk-ins the whole, I don't know how many years we were there, 8, 9 years. Text correspondence. Now, in the both category, you got farming, geographic or demographic. I think most people do geographic. Again, it works, but you've got to do it consistently. Once you start, you can't stop. And don't get discouraged if you don't get anything in 3 months or 6 months. If you stop, it could be that very next day that you should have went out that might have been the day you got it.
How often do you send out the mailers? Every 6 months?
Well, we'll get that in a minute. That's kind of a budget issue. We're going to get to that cost and everything here in a minute. Events, obviously, the obvious one's the open house. I mean, buyer seminars, I've always thought about doing them, but just been too busy and never planned one. We have one, if you want to get in the investment side of things, we have a whole PowerPoint for Millionaire Real Estate Investor. If you want to do a seminar, it's all ready to go. You don't have to write anything. It's all done for you. Great, the Blue Book. Contests, client appreciation events. That's another thing that I always kept meaning to do, but never did. But something you should consider. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You want to get them there for a couple hours. Maybe reserve a place like in the park or something. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy and exotic. Networking, network, with your sphere, obviously, past clients. That's where I spend a lot of my space. Allied resources, agents. You do want to network with agents for the referral opportunities. Purchased referral networks advertise. Don't buy anything, please. In the last high year in NAR, I think it was 2021, I think.
2020.
Sold 6.2 million properties were sold in the United States. Do you know how many leads were sold? Take a guess. 6.2 million sales. How many leads were sold in 12 months?
650 million.
650?
Yeah.
No, not that high.
60 million?
120 million.
Yeah, about right.
120.
Agents bought 120 million leads. And we only sold 6.2 million houses. How good were those leads? How many of those leads were duplicate leads?
Yeah, they go to.
Don't pay for leads. Pay for prospecting and marketing.
Okay.
Come on. Okay. Oh, wait, one of my pages, oh, there it is. Oh, okay. On the marketing side of things, you got a whole list of things. Oh, the other thing I left out in the both category is Boy Scouts. From the time my son turned 6 until he aged out at 18, I was a leader in the Boy Scout troop. One of the 4 leads I got in the last 12 days was from that Boy Scout troop. Okay, I've done multiple transactions from the relationships that I created within that. So, volunteering for groups and so forth, getting out there is advantageous. Okay, on the right hand side, you've got all those advertising things. That basically gives you the cost for them. Pay per click. A real estate lead typically on average costs you $116. You know, SEO, pay someone to get you higher up. SEO is going to cost you $500 to $5,000 a month. You know, you got radio, TV, you got newspapers, you got personal vehicles. I mean, you're putting a magnetic sign on your, Williams got them. Putting the magnetic signs is a very inexpensive way to market yourself, depending on how much you drive around. Bus stop benches, we don't have a whole lot of those. Social media, you can spend $0. You can use Procasa and have them do a lot for you, $29.95 a month. I would suggest if you're going to get in the social media space, I mean, if you've got plenty of time, just do it yourself.
Procasa?
Procasa, yeah. I think they give us like the first month free. I don't know, they had a promotional thing. I don't know if they still have it or not. Okay. Magazines are expensive. I'm sending out 50 right now I'm sending 50 out to a list of people who are supposedly ready to sell, okay? I really have it more, I've got extras that I just have kind of as a handout, but they're expensive. It's, $2.25 for just 50 issues. They're over $4 an issue. So it's,
so where do you get it done?
Pardon?
Magazines, where do you get it done?
It's called, what is it called? Well, there's American Homestyle, Publishing by Design. No, wait, I'm sorry. It's Reminder Media.
Oh.
Reminder Media. Reminder Media is big on postcards, but they have the magazines too. I've got, if you want a copy of one, I've got a bunch of them in my office. Come see me after. But again, it's kind of an expensive proposition. I can't say that I can't directly relate business to it per se. Billboards, we don't have a lot of billboards in Fremont. They're not allowed too many places. Yellow Pages, expensive. Only get 80 calls from spending $800. I don't think that's a worthy venture. Grocery carts. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm walking around pushing the cart, do I like all of a sudden have an epiphany? I think I'm going to sell my house. So I'm going to call this guy on here on the cart.
He looks nice.
Now, here's the deal, folks. If you're farming a neighborhood at a high level, these other ancillary things are good to do to extend your brand awareness. So if you're in a niche little neighborhood, yeah, you want to be on the bus stop benches in that neighborhood. You want to be in the shopping cart of the grocery store for that neighborhood. But wait till you get there first before you start spending money on those additional advertising expenses. Does that make sense? Yeah. You want to rely on some of this stuff for brand awareness, but only do that once you've established the brand. Make sense? Because you'll get calls from you. I get calls from shopping cart grocery store companies for shopping carts all the time, or the little magazines, but most of it is it's only good for brand awareness. It doesn't really result in business. Moving van, I've stopped and started getting a moving van multi-time. The problem is you got to have permission from your landlord to park it in an obvious place, and that's not easy to get.
Moving.
So that's why I started to get one a few years back, and I held off.
What does it do?
A moving van. With your
Oh,
wrapped moving van with your name on a
right.
moving van, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I started to get one a few years back, but I was running into a problem on where was I gonna park it. Okay, if you want ideas for a complete 12-month direct mail marketing plan, here's one that I created last year, still applicable today, because it's basically, it's geared to holidays, and it's geared to the months of the years relative to our market activity. Okay, I purposely picked things based on market activities and what people generally do in these various months of the year. Now, you don't have this doesn't have to be direct mail, you can use email. You could, and again, and all those different things, other than the market reports, I mean, you can use ChatGPT to generate those reports. Right? Very simple. Tell ChatGPT, please give me a detailed list on tips on preparing and staging a home for sale. It's going to give you a whole list in 3 seconds. Okay? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Make sense? See, I picked early in the year tips on preparing and staging your home, spring cleaning tips, tax benefits of home ownership in April, because that's tax times. Then vacation planning tips, home improvement financing options, how school ratings affect home values and prices, let them know that right before school starts.
The tax benefits might change a little bit with the new presidency, right?
Well, yeah, well, that's just another reason, it's another touch.
Exactly.
Yeah, back to school safety tips, pumpkin giveaway, pie giveaway. Actually, I gotta update this because the pie giveaway is in November now. Man, the people love the pies. And I gave about a dozen away. It's like people just love those pies. But those Costco pies are unbelievable. Okay. Lead generation using direct mail. You always want to make sure you're communicating character and competence. That creates trust. Market consistency, develop TOMA, top of mind awareness, and incorporate a clear call to action. Always have a call to action in anything you send out. Call for this, ask for this. You always finish with a call to action. Why use it? Better likely to being read and responded to. Open rate with direct mail runs 89%. Email and social media rates are 20 to 30%. Response rates 9% versus 1%.
What is communicate character and competence? Is basically you're showing
You
what I
have
love so
2 things to communicate to people: your character, your reputation, and your competence.
Okay. But number 1 ruling in the area, so many listings or working with so many.
You're competent at selling real estate, and you're trustworthy. You have a good character, which leads to trust. They're going to trust you to represent them. People receive an average of 454 pieces of mail per year, compared to 150 emails per day. People think direct mail is less intrusive. What's the cost? The MRI says budget 30% for expenses. I'd say if you're new in the business, you should be budgeting 10% for advertising. 10% of what? 10% of what your goal is for income.
Yeah.
If you want to know what mine is, I haven't tallied 2024, but I'm sure it's probably roughly the same as the previous years. My annual average for advertising runs 4%. But that's on an average, 4-year average GCI of 499,000. Roughly $20,000. I spent about $20,000 per year.
Why 499? Just curious.
It's just that's how it averaged out when I ran the numbers. That's because I had a deal that was I had a deal that was supposed to close December 31st and it rolled into January 2nd.
I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I think you're avoiding the tax rate. $500,000.
No. Well, my tax bill's a little less. My 1099 is a little lower than that, but okay. Here's cost.
Excuse me, I have a 5.
Okay. Here's the direct mail price sheet. And I basically you understand first class mail is expensive. Bulk mail, if you're gonna mail anything to a database, bulk mail is the way to go. But you gotta have 200 pieces. Now, if anybody's interested in just seeing the process, Pat is gonna be here some point in time, and she's gonna be taking a bulk mail to the post office, and you can go with her if you wanna see her do the other shit.
I'm waiting for this.
You're waiting, yeah, okay. How many pieces you mailing?
Oh, I mail just to a small area.
Yeah, okay,
And
but it
it's
doesn't,
not-
the
it's
quantity
not every door.
doesn't matter. So anyway, you break down it's only like a 2-cent difference, but anything 945 through 948 zip codes get the lower rate, 38 cents. Anything else is mixed and it's 40.8 cents versus first class is 73. Now, if you're gonna farm into a geographic area, then the least costly method is EDDM, or every door direct, and that's based on the number and the carrier route. Every area has a carrier route, and there's so many neighborhoods of carrier. Carrier route quantities will generally run you from, I've had them anywhere from 350 up to 900 in one carrier route. Now that 900, it was a big townhouse complex. The carrier's not running the 900 doors, he's got big banks of mailboxes, and he can go do it real quick. But with the EDDM, you can go 8.5 by 11. You've got, they're not in here. You've got samples of some of my reports there. Let me go back here. So here's some costs. Basically, printing costs for 500 postcards. Last time I checked, with 5.5 by 8.5 basically is a half of an 8.5 by 11 page. California Concierge, and this is all two-sided printing. 30.6. Got prints really cheap, but there's a waiting time for them to print and ship. See, so a lot of this is based on how quick you want the product from the time you develop it to how quick you want it in your hands. So if you want to spend less, you got to plan way ahead. I'm always like wanting to get it out right away, so I do it myself. I print here myself. If you want to buy letterhead, dot print, you're looking at 17 cents a piece. Not branded envelope, I have branded envelopes, they're 13 cents. If you want to buy an 80-pound flyer paper from the Market Center, it's 5 cents a piece, 5 cents a piece for that. That's heavy enough stock for the EDDM mailing, okay? The Market Center's printing policy is this. Each month, you get your first 500 copies, whether it's black and white or color, are free. Anything after that for the remainder of the month is 20 cents a page. So if you're doing two-sided, that's 40 cents. So if you're doing my EDDM, it's 45 cents for the printing and the paper. And then when I add, now these are some of my costs for doing a 500. I do almost monthly a 500 piece mailing. Again, if I did just a letter, it'd be $450. If I added a two-sided flyer, it's $487 because I'm printing on two sides, not just a letter on one side. My business card count, every year I send a business card magnet, business card calendar. So that all in with an envelope, a two-sided flyer, which you have a copy of, and the business card calendar, including the cost of the business card, was $732. That's the 500 people. Okay, so what does that work out to? $1.30 a person or something like that? Every time I go to an appointment and I know those people on my database, when I always make a point to walk in the kitchen and look at the refrigerator to see if I'm there. I'm always there. Sometimes there's others too, in addition to me, but I'm the one there getting the business. Okay? I told a story in the class. I taught direct mail. The old seller in San Jose, older gentleman, he's a retired dentist. His wife had passed, and he moved back east to be with his daughter. And he had all kinds of stuff all over the refrigerator. And when the movers came and moved the house out, he cleaned out the refrigerator. He took everything out. He left a bottle of champagne inside the refrigerator. And what was sitting on the refrigerator door? My calendar magnet. He took everything off but left my calendar there. And I represented the buyers on the property too. So I think, oh, this is great, I already got that taken care of, because my new client now is the house.
Do you think it's too late to send now?
I'm sorry?
Is it too late to send now calendars for the
No.
I know a lot of people.
Now, it's funny, because I get, on the back of the counter, there's a little slip you can tear off and send it in and ask for a new one. I have like 3 women that send me that like clockwork every single year. They send me write a note, say, oh, thank you, I really enjoy your calendar. It's like every year, it's like, and one year I got late, and it's like I have people call me on like January 4th, where's my calendar, where's my calendar? Oh, I'm sorry, I got a little hiccup. Got it out.
Sample of your calendar?
I'm sorry?
Do you have sample copies?
No, I mailed them all out. Usually by now, I think my mailing list is so accurate, I didn't get any returns. Usually I get a few
So you
back.
buy from Magnet USA? Magnet USA?
No, I get mine from Real Estate Calendars. Think they're all about the same price. If you actually wait late, you can get even a better price, some of them even discount. What you do, the secret is, you wanna wait to the end, order like Merry Christmas after Christmas, and then just take the Merry Christmas off. Okay, and you get the calendar for even less. Yeah.
Oh, because it's custom.
Yeah. EDDM. Now EDDM, if you're doing postcards, it has to be 6 by 11. That's bigger than half of a page there, so it's a custom size. The Got Print will do those for 100 with mailing 170. Now 2-sided flyer with California Concierge printing and mailing, you're looking at $310. Now, the California Concierge does a high glossy flyer. If you do Market Center, if you haven't printed anything in the month, you could do 500 2-sided, heavy stock, EDDM, mail, $126. And it arrives the next day. I go to the post office at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and since I live in the one farm that I send to, you get mine.
Yeah.
I come home the next day and there it's sitting in the mail. It goes right out immediately. Now, if you've already done 500, you're going to do more. If you were doing another 500 in the same month, you'd be looking at 326 for that side. Now, again, your EDDM is going to be based on carrier route. You don't get to select how many you want to send. You've got to mail however many are in that carrier route. So you look at your map. You go on the USPS site, and it will show you. You put in an address, it'll bring up the carrier route for that address and show you how many pieces. I think your Ellsworth track, I think, is like 326, something like that.
And you're the only consistent one?
I'm the only consistent one.
There's a few randoms here or there.
Antoinette had a bad year, and she cut back on her market.
She knows I'm real. She cut me out for a list. I
Yeah.
know stuff.
One of my good friends that I grew up with, she goes, Antoinette, you can find her. She wasn't selling anyhow. She had to cut back on it because she was pretty consistent
She was.
in there. Yeah. This is kind of the last kind of a takeaway. Just to give you an idea how to kind of tie it off in a bow. If you want to try to just do something this is kind of like the goals you want to kind of make for yourself. The only thing you own is your relationships. Great service makes people feel loved, appreciated, thought about. Call your people 2 to 4 times a year. Identify your goal group, your top 25 people. Touch them regularly. Customize your relationship. Find out all about them. When I walk through houses, I look for signs of schools, of kids, school activities, hobbies, vacation spots, all those sorts of things, and I take notes of all that. And when if I get an email that relates to that, or I see a magazine article, and I'm old school, I will print out a magazine article and mail it to them with a handwritten note. You think that makes an impression? You better believe it does. Email's too impersonal, but it doesn't. But still, it's a touch. I mean, if you're in a hurry, you just go, "Oh man," you see somebody go, "That reminds me of John." Boom, forward to John. Hey, I do that all the time. I'm constantly sending stuff to people, email. Be a connector. Let people know you have sources of vendors that you can refer out. Never eat lunch alone. I'm terrible at this. You should go out to lunch with people at least twice a month. can always use DoorDash. Send food to a client at their place of work with DoorDash. Delivering stuff to the place of work is powerful. I'm still bad at it. I do Omaha Steaks at the end of the year to everybody I did business with or got referrals from, and I send everything to their houses. But I really, I mean, the boxes are huge. Have you ever got Omaha Steaks? And the box is massive. People just go goo goo gaga over it. And it's like, every year I go, I should start sending it to their workplace, But I'm never sure what day they're gonna deliver, it's perishable, and I wanna make sure they get it, so I keep sending it to their houses. Have a birthday system, home anniversary system. And consider gifts, branded gifts. Cutco is a branded gift, the calendar. That comes under the promotional items, okay? Remember, technically you can only write off $25 on a gift. But if it's branded like a Cutco knife, maybe $7,500 branded knife or scissors, it's advertising. Because it's branded, it's not advertising, you get deduct 100%.
What about the Omaha? That's just $25, right?
It's supposed to be, yeah. You have to decide what's the likelihood of you getting audited when it comes to tax deductions. We'll put it this way, if you pay your fair share of taxes, which I think I do, I'm not too worried about an audit. So you saw the reports, and I gave Harshita the template for this initially from California Concierge, or not from Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, but she has this template, okay? So these are all things that I gave her the text and then she updates for me. And then I gave you a bunch of stuff on insurance because I know that's a hot topic. One of those is real general with NAR, it's very general, but it just basically talks about insurance just in general, doesn't get into the whole fire thing much. The other one is, CAR has some that's more specific to insurance and fire hazard areas and so forth. I provided that to you because I think that's the kind of stuff that's going to be real helpful to people. And just keep an eye out. CAR will putting out more, they call onesies, 1 or 2 page flyers. They'll be updating that, and those would be good things to send to people. When you're trying to decide, what do I send? Basically, the whole idea is the feeling it's all about sending an item of value. But that comes at a cost. That they send you a slick and a letter to go with it, but you're looking at $364 a month. Now it's monthly and you can cancel any time, but again, you've got to decide what your budget is. Now I do quarterly market reports, and then I do just listed, just sold as often as I can, so it ends up almost 12 times in a year. Now, the other thing on the just listed, just sold, I used to tell people, well, back in the day when we were just doing black and white paper, I would do just listed, just sold, just closed. Well, now what agents are doing now is they're doing four touches. Coming soon, just listed, under contract, just sold. So you can take that one listing and market it 4 times. And don't be afraid to go just sold on the second time. People don't keep track of that stuff. You do, but they don't. Make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Thank you, Steve.
Did I fulfill your wants
This was
and needs
awesome.
and expectations? Okay. My door is usually open, so if you have any questions about any of this stuff, don't hesitate to ask me. The one thing I will share with you is even if Harshita creates it, if you generate a mailing piece before you spend a penny printing it out, send it to me. Let me look at it.
Are you gonna do your EDM plus again soon?
Probably, maybe in a month or 2. But you gotta be real careful, especially if it's not gonna be free. You wanna make sure it's right.
I need to know if anybody wants to go.
Does anybody want to accompany her
If not, I'm
to
gonna
post
leave,
office,
like now.
the bulk mail?
I'm coming. Okay, good.
Yeah,
It's just to go see what I do at bulk.
Yeah,
That's
'cause,
all.
yeah,
Where
see,
you go in
you-
Fremont and,
Yeah, you drive, so you get to drive in like you work there, and you get to go in the back, and there's a door in the back, and then that's where they've got the,
I'm leaving now.
yeah, that's where they've got the,
I have a doctor appointment.
the boxes, the different boxes, the trays that you use for mailing, because you just grab what you need and have those there. Yeah, you can meet Susan. And Susan has this, Susan has this price sheet. I'm the only person that's ever done that, so I do we work together and update it, and I give her that price sheet as a handout.
And she is super nice.
She's super nice.
Super patient.
Yep, very nice.
Okay, I'm leaving, guys.
So I have client different city, right? So this is for tri-city. So I need to generate a market report for that city and
Say their name and then.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere in Sunny.
Now, I write this all myself. This is all me, this is not ChatGPT. Oh, yeah, this is me writing, not ChatGPT. Now, I get this data from the market reports on MLS. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try I'm gonna send it a prompt, similar like this, and give them this data. I tried doing it, just giving them all the data, but I'm gonna create this data and send ChatGPT just that data and see what it gives me for a report. But I'm gonna tell it, I want a report with an introduction summarizing the past quarter of activity, comparing and contrasting the three cities, and then I want a projection for the market in the future based on, because it'll come up with something. And then you can tweak it.
So whatever you get from ChatGPT explanation, you put in the
Yeah, if I'm happy with the content, I might change it, I might add to it, I might take away.
You can get from based reporters, right, this data number of months, so.
Yeah, it's the market report. Yeah, I print all the market reports, and that's where I do, and then I do the math to figure out, because see, I'm just doing quarterly change.
Yeah.
So I have to do the math to figure out. Yeah, and it's not annual, it's quarterly.
But I get this.
No, yeah. I mean, it's not,
It's better with the case to be here.
No, I get it.
I think she lives in.
Yeah, because you guys have the case that has the mag.
Or you can just do it without the case.
She just started.
And that's yours.
Yeah.
Because you know how they have their wireless charge?
I used to send out a calendar.
Oh, I love that.
That's my word.
How's it cost?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It was very, very
Did that help?
Informative, very much so. Very much.
People always like to.
Yeah, I don't know if I made it clear, but yeah, your sphere of influence,
Where you should start.
that's your initial contact list that goes in your database. And then with all those questions, that's what you want to grow that.
I had a question, I didn't want to cut you off, but contact list, do you ask permission to do that?
Well, no,
So as long as
first
you-
of all, if I already have a relationship, I've only had.
That's the ultimate number.
I've had,
Everything we do is a numbers game, whether it's calling FISBOs or expires or sitting up there.
I think I've only had two people in 35 years ask me to do this. One was because he already, in fact, I went to high school, he had another age, in fact, they're both in high school. One had, already had his social security. So you remember, the people that I went to high school with, I was sending to them for two reasons. To keep track of where they